Hi, Tracy. How are you?
Good evening. Welcome to our committee of the whole. We will now do roll call. Director Decker.
I'm here.
Director Smith.
Here.
Director Sproul.
Here.
Director Barros.
Here.
And I am also here. We are all in attendance and we have quorum. I will now turn this over to our superintendent, Dr. Snell, to lead us through this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for attending the committee of the whole meeting on February 21st. We're glad to see you. And if you're joining us later via video, we're glad that you're joining us that way as well. Just a couple of updates before we get into the proposed agenda items for March 14th. We do have a study session next Tuesday night that will be Zoom, and we have a number of topics. Short budget update, some updates on our new elementary schools, and the impact of the equity policy adoption, or not the equity policy, I'm sorry, the programs of choice, school of choice policy adoption that you all voted on the February 14th meeting. And then we also have an update from our highly capable committee. And then finally, the bulk of the agenda is related to a student learning dive, our winter progress monitoring session. And so stay tuned for those coming up. And then we are getting another blast of wintry weather. So it looks like some pretty cold temperatures over the next few days, which we know impacts everybody in the community. So being thoughtful about that. And then maybe some precipitation as well. So we will have our snow patrol out early tomorrow and potentially early Thursday morning as well, just to see if there's any inclement weather implications. So, you know, it's we always feel like we're getting a little bit of a spring fever, and then the winter comes back and lets us know that it's not ready for that yet. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be able to have school on time and everything over the next couple of days. I'll go ahead and pull up my screen for the future agenda items that we have for March 14th. And this is our opportunity to look at those agenda items, ask any questions, and help us better prepare for the March 14th meeting. So with that, I'll turn over the first section to Brett to walk through some of the contracts that are scheduled for that agenda. And then we're happy to answer any questions. Sometimes we can answer the questions right now. Other times we'll take those questions and get back to the board directors prior to the March 14th meeting. So Brett, are you ready?
I am. Thank you. So can you hear me okay? I'm connecting from a different site here. Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and just dive right in. We have a handful of contracts for your consideration at the March 14th meeting. The first one is a bid number 2023-002. It's for kitchen equipment for Ruth Bader Ginsburg Elementary. Our recommendation is that we award that competitively bid purchase to Bargreen Ellingson, which is a kitchen equipment provider, obviously, in the amount of $76,132.13 plus Washington State sales tax. So the last of those kitchen equipment ones we'll be approving for a while. We'll have a few more, obviously, for RBG as we go along, but little by little, we're winding down the bond. Oh, I should also say, I'm sorry, that is funded by the bond capital projects or bond programs. So is there any questions on that one before we move on? Okay. So the next item for your consideration would be purchase agreement number 2023-005. It involves upgraded weight room equipment at Fort Vancouver High School. So our recommendation is that we award the purchase agreement to BSN Sports through a competitively bid contract through Omnia Partners. The amount would be $70,256.52 plus Washington State sales tax. This is funded by the general fund. We'll use maintenance dollars as well as cobbling together some other resources to make that happen for Fort. So Questions on the Fort Vancouver weight room upgrade?
Nope.
All right, so then we'll move on to these aren't actually contracts, they're resolutions that we would ask you to consider at the next board meeting. They both involve the certification of completion of construction for projects. We have a few more on today's agenda, but as you remember, over the last couple of years, we've sent a number of these things for you to certify in your consent agenda that the project has been completed to our staff satisfaction, and so we can complete the legal process. OSPI historically has accepted that, but apparently they've had some turnover up there and they found some embedded whack that says it has to be done by resolution. And so for state match programs only. So for two of our projects that have been completed that involve state match, Ogden Elementary and Truman, we are asking that you consider a resolution which would fully complete the process of closing out those projects from a state match perspective at OSPI. And again, the resolution numbers are 895 for Ogden and 896 for Truman. So questions on those? All right, then we'll move on to a couple projects that are completed and we are recommending approval, but these aren't state match, so they don't require a resolution. The first one was awarded under purchase agreement number 2021-006, and that involved upgrades to Kiggins Bowl Stadium and the construction of the new field house. If you haven't been out there, it's a pretty cool setup. I think they did a great job. It was good design and good execution on the construction contract. It's completed now and we're satisfied. So we would recommend that we accept as completed the contract with PNC Construction in the final amount of $5,146,920.91 plus Washington State sales tax. The second one, and then we can pause for questions, is also at that Kiggins Bowl Discovery Middle School site, and it involves the construction of the track surfaces at both Kiggins Bowl portion and then the new turf field that is used largely by Discovery Middle School. And again, that was purchase agreement number 2021-030 with Bainon Sports, and the final amount of that one was $259,209 plus Washington State sales tax. So questions on either of those completed projects that again don't involve state match, so they don't need a resolution. All right, then the last one I have for you tonight, and I apologize if you looked at the agenda over the weekend, I think it was just a recent ad because we've been scrambling to get bids and get this all lined up, and then we're under some pressure on an E-rate timeline. But we're recommending that you approve purchase agreement number 2022-057 for fiber digital transmission services. This is again largely subsidized, thankfully, by our E-rate program to the tune of about 80%, but it is our recommendation after doing the competitive bid process as required by E-rate to award that to Comcast Business Communications in the amount of $1,090,584 plus Washington State sales tax. Thankfully, 80% of that will be reimbursed through the E-rate program. So the net to the district is $218,116.80 for the 2023-2024 school year. So a lot of money, but obviously that provides kind of that dark fiber throughout the district for all of our schools' connectivity. And again, thankfully, we're able to benefit largely from the E-rate program on that. Questions about the fiber transmission service agreement?
Thank you, Brett. I don't see any questions from the board on the contract section. So if there are follow-up questions later, please just let us know. And we'll try to address those before the March 14th meeting. The next section is around policy, and we are scheduled for a second reading, which would mean potential consideration for approval at the March 14th meeting. This is a policy related to conflicts of interest. It's in the 1000 series for the under board of directors. And so at this point, I don't know of any specific concerns other than just when we first did the first reading, just kind of some general questions about origin for this. Was there a specific reason for it? And my understanding is it's part of the updates that we get about looking at the policies and trying to keep them fresh and current with current law and best practice as well. Any questions on that one? Okay. And then the last section, well, I shouldn't say, there is another section in information under teaching and learning. We have a few things. So the first one is around recommendations from the Instructional Materials Committee. We've recently established, they have produced an overview document of the resources. When that pulls up, taking a little longer here, but when that does pull up, it lists the title, the purpose, and then also any challenging content within the summary. And so if you have any specific questions with this, please just let us know. I'm happy to reach out, talk further about these titles. There's two titles, or one is a series of titles, and then the other is a title that the Instructional Materials Committee is bringing forward to you for your consideration. We do have a couple of course proposals, and I believe there's a pre-AP or AP pre-calculus title that's in there. And I can't remember off the top of my head what the other title was, but it'll come up here. Oh, forensic art. And as we've discussed before, sometimes new course proposals will originate with a teacher or a set of students at a school. And then once it gets its footing, that can potentially kind of ripple out to our other schools if it's an offering that people are interested in. So it does have a description of each of these and why the recommendation for approval has been given by staff.
All right, as long as I'm allowed to take the forensic art class, I'm okay.
It's
like my passion.
Yeah, well, I'll just say the pre-requirement is the pre-AP or the AP pre-calc. Yeah.
Does it matter how many decades ago I did that?
Kathy, I actually visited ITech last week and I got to preview some of the pre-work for forensic art. It was so cool. So my question, Jeff, I guess around AP pre-calculus, because I would assume that AP pre-calculus has existed in the district. So just alignment of courses across schools. I know you said that we're creating this course, but then it could expand to other schools. And I know we're trying to align courses and standards across our comprehensive schools. I would just be curious what other schools have AP pre-calculus or similar offerings for the students. And I know there's several AP courses or an AP track at Skyview. So is this replacing a different math course that's similar, that's just a new course name?
I will make sure I follow up, Director Sproul, because I want to make sure I'm accurate in that. My recollection is that we didn't have AP pre-calc, but I could be mistaken in that. And so I'll do some follow-up and see, why is this at Skyview? Why isn't it at others? It's just some of that context, because it's not as unique as forensic art, for example. So I'll follow up on that with the board and get that information to you all.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. And then the last piece is some recommendations for travel. This is in next year's spring break. So it's a band orchestra trip to Disneyland, which is kind of a traditional band trip for high schools across the country. they get to experience kind of behind the scenes, participate in some professional recording and professional musician kinds of experiences, in addition to usually marching around the park. So it takes a lot of effort for the boosters, students, families, and the instructors to pull that off. And so it's coming well in advance for you. So that's the last thing under teaching and learning. And then finally, as part of the state match fund as well, there are some requirements about continued inventory and assessment of buildings and their infrastructure. And so there's a cover letter in here that explains some of that, some modeling, and then just the report that they would need to give to you. So that's another piece that's an information item here. I'm not 100% sure if there's an action that needs to take place with that, or if it's just that we need to document that we're doing that for and publicly reviewing those. So, and that is what we have for the agenda for March 14th, Pi Day. So it's with February and March, you know, when all the days line up, it's sometimes we get mixed up on the dates, but it is March 14th. We just left February 14th, and we'll be coming back for in person then. So if there aren't any other questions, I'll turn it back to you, Director Zavala Ortega, and go from there.
Does anyone else have any questions? No?
No.
Thank you so much. It's 5:46, end of our meeting. Thank you.
Night.